So we have quant part, we have LR part, we have RC part. These three sections are there in CSAT. Like just 2-3 months before, we are going to cover it, this CSAT part. So what happens that time, we need to cover all other things also. If we see the difficulty level, this LR part's difficulty level is stagnant over the years. But they are picking questions from these examinations, the questions related to number system. So to save time, to maximize our number of attempts, to maximize our accuracy, what we can do? So how we can get the idea for the syllabus? PYQs. So if we see the PYQs of last 10 years, all the things, all the topics we need to understand, the basics, the conventional approach, and one more thing, like shortcuts. What do you think about it? It is very difficult to apply shortcuts in UPSC paper. So if it is aligning with the crux of the passage, with the explanation of the passage, that means it is correct. And see what answer you are making. Then try to see what answer UPSC has given. This way, try to go for 2, 3, 4 years RC questions.
The UPSC exam doesn't defeat you with difficulty. It defeats you with confusion, lack of clarity, lack of direction, and preparation that feels scattered. At Vision IAS Delhi, we rebuild your UPSC journey with structure, strategy, and support that doesn't waver. Get complete coverage of GS, CSAT, and essays step by step. PT 365 and Mains 365, so current affairs stop feeling like chaos. Personal mentorship, not just advice, but actual strategy guidance. Test feedback loops, because growth begins where guesswork ends. Toppers didn't just prepare, they built the right foundation. Now it's your turn. This isn't just a course, it's where clarity, consistency, and confidence begin.
Good afternoon, everyone. Have you seen the paper? How many of you appeared this year? So few. So you have seen the paper, you have seen what is the composition of the paper, how difficult was it. Everyone is having some slight idea. How was the paper? Tough, difficult, very difficult. What do you think? कुछ तो बोलिए. Difficult था. Yes, it was difficult. And which part or how many questions were on easier side? अभी लंच करके आए तो दिमाग नहीं चल रहा है सही से. नींद तो नहीं आ रही है. Okay. So how many of you trying to appear like this coming exam 26? Most of you. And how many of you appeared this year? Okay. And last year? Previous year? No one? Okay. So everyone might be knowing what is the CSAT paper all about. This idea everyone is having. When I'm writing CSAT, it is coming in red. So we have quant part, we have LR part, we have RC part. These three sections are there in CSAT. So the kind of paper we are getting in last 3-4 years. So we need to consider the CSAT paper, the CSAT as a subject. Like we have polity, economy, geography. We have another subject that is CSAT. Although it is qualifying in nature, but still we need to consider it as a subject. Because getting 27 questions correct, it is also very difficult. So we need to consider it as a subject, and we need to study like all the subjects we are studying for entire year. So for this also, entire year we need to read. Not every day, but on weekly basis. In every 2 weeks, we can say we are going to go through some topics of CSAT. That is what we need to do, so that we are familiar with it. What happens if we leave this for the end? Like just 2-3 months before, we are going to cover it, this CSAT part. So what happens that time? We need to cover all other things also. That time PT 365 is also there. We have to revise all the things. So we don't get any time. So we just think we need to study CSAT, we need to read CSAT, we need to practice CSAT, but in the thought process only it is there. But we're not able to do that because we are burdened with GS subjects. So that is why we need to devote some time, like every week, 3 hours, 4 hours, 5 hours. Just this much we need to devote, otherwise it will be like very difficult for us. So this is the learning we can have from this CSAT paper 25. Maths. So roughly how many questions are asked? The composition. So we have seen in previous 3-4 years, 30 to 40 questions. Like this year, how many questions were asked? 34. Last year, 39. Before that, 42. This way, roughly around 35 they are asking questions every year. LR part, roughly around 15 questions. This year, 17. Then RC, roughly around 25 to 27. This year, 29. So this way, the composition can change every year. Like before 5-6 years, this RC part, they were asking roughly around 35 questions, 35-36. Then they started reducing number of questions here, started giving more questions here. But this LR composition is roughly same, roughly around 15, 14, 15, 16, 17. This way they are asking questions every year. If we see the difficulty level, this LR part's difficulty level is stagnant over the years. But this part, the difficulty level is increased over the years. Here also in RC part, difficulty level is increased. Every year we can see, like this year in RC, paper, like one question, one passage was there, just one line passage. And one question was there. If this way they are asking question, that one-liner, I think most of you who have appeared this year might have marked it correct. It was very straightforward passage. Usme correct ho gaya tha. But this way we can see different trends. The composition same. Like RC may we cannot have topics. But for reasoning and maths, we have set patterns. Topics are fixed. Likewise in GS paper. So those topics we need to identify. Then we need to go for the concept building. Then basic questions. Then we need to have a glimpse over like how they are asking in previous years. PYQs we need to solve. Then some build-up questions, which can be a probable question which are coming this year. So that also we'll try to discuss in the classes also, here also, like how UPSC is changing the trend. How they are picking new questions. In the same topic, how they are picking new subtopics. That also we'll try to discuss. There is a trend, and we can see the papers like SSC, banking, NDA, CDS. These examinations, what happens? Not all the questions from these papers, but few questions, few new questions if they are framing in these papers. UPSC is taking questions from here also. And specifically, if I say number system, not from percentage, profit loss, those shortcuts, but they are picking questions from these examinations, the questions related to number system. Like in 3-4 years, we have seen in this maths part, the question from number system, it has increased a lot. Like more than 50% questions are asked from number system only. So we'll also go into this, what are different topics of it. Then some important topics for which what subtopics we can have. Then this LR part, it is stagnant. The topics are same and similar kind of questions are being asked. Although difficulty level is slightly increased, but few questions we need to skip also. So that can come under that category. In this RC part, there is no like topic segregation. Just we need to understand the tail words. What kind of tail words they are writing in the questions. With that only we can identify what can be the answer. So this way we can proceed. So if we see the trend, number of questions, we can get this way. And next year also what can happen? The same pattern with slight change. Like in RC, we can expect further more questions. We can have 31, we can have 35 questions here. In maths part, like they have asked till 42. So they have started reducing it. So further also what can happen? They can reduce it to 30, like the earlier trend. Like 25 to 30 questions earlier they were asking from maths part. More questions from reasoning. So if they are going to increase this number, they need to balance it by reducing number of questions from here or here. So next year we can expect LR say lesser number of questions. This remains the same, this remains same or increased number of questions. Now the next thing is, what is the qualifying criteria? We need to have 33%, that is how many marks? 60. 66 marks, because in the notification it is written 33%. It is not written 33.33. It is 33%. That means we need to have 66 marks. So there also we have applied the CSAT. Like you need to see what marks we can get to qualify this people. So roughly for getting 66 marks, how many questions we need to correct? By removing incorrect questions, the marks also roughly 27 questions. So out of 80, just 27 questions we need to mark it correct after reducing the negative marking and the other questions. So if we are attempting 27 questions and all the 27 questions are correct, we have qualified. But it cannot happen. We cannot have 100% accuracy. So we need to increase number of attempts. So if it is 45 or more than 45, so we can claim that we can have, after reducing the negative marking, we can have 27 questions correct. This is what we can do. So if like few are having engineering background, few are having humanities background, so they are having different skill set. Like few are having good hold over mathematics, maths part, few are having good hold over RC part. So they can think of, like I can go with this maths or LR part only, or I can go with RC part only. But this cannot happen. We cannot skip any of these parts. We need to see which part with which we are strong. So suppose someone is having very good command over RC. So for that person also, this maths and LR part, they need to understand it. Not entire topic, but if you want to skip few topics, you can skip it. But make this decision earlier. Last mein nahi ki before the examination, this maths part I'm going to skip. So few questions I will try to attempt. If it is correct, it is okay. Otherwise, all the 27, 29 RC part questions I'm going to attempt. And we have seen that roughly 45 to 55 is the number of attempts I can see for the students. This much number of questions students are attempting. So how many questions students are leaving? Total 80 questions. So 25 to 30 to 35 questions students are skipping. So that also we need to understand. The questions, the number of questions which are skipped, that is also, we can say this much, 25 to 35. So how we can skip these many questions? For that also, we need to understand the topics, the concepts. Then only we can have this idea, this question we need to skip. Because why we are skipping these questions, for that also some basics, some reasoning must be there. Why I am skipping? Because I don't know. If I know, then also I know it is going to kill a lot of time. So to save time, to maximize our number of attempts, to maximize our accuracy, what we can do? We need to understand different concepts, different topics. Then only this will be the intelligent thing to skip. Like I am skipping because it is not because the question paper is difficult. It is because it is time consuming. Because of that, I'm skipping that question. If this thing you have got, then very easily you can pass that barrier of 66 marks. So for that, we need to understand different topics, different subtopics, and what kind of build-up questions we can have in the paper. Last year also, the last to last year also, I have said this number system part, UPSC is going to rely more because they have exhausted with the type of questions. Because every year they are having different new question in GS also. So that is why number system is a part of maths where they can make newer questions. All the concept is same, but new questions, so many new questions they can frame. So one by one, if I take maths part, so if I want to start, like if you want to start preparation for CSAT for next year, so you need to understand key what is the syllabus, what is there written in the syllabus in the notification. But if we see the notification, UPSC syllabus, nothing is written, nothing much is written. Just it is written class 10 level, mathematics, numerical ability, data interpretation. That is what is written. So we don't get much idea about the syllabus. So how we can get the idea for the syllabus? PYQs. So if we see the PYQs of last 10 years, what kind of topics, what topics we are getting, like the first important topic is number system. And there are so many subparts of it. Then we have percentage, then profit and loss, then we have discount, then we have ratio, mixtures, then we have average, we have compound interest, simple interest, we have time and work, we have time, speed and distance, we have set theory, we have permutation and combination and probability also. We have miscellaneous part. Majorly these are the topics. Majorly, these are the topics from which we can expect questions. So 90% questions are coming from these topics only. And out of these 90%, more than 50% questions we get from here. Number system. And every year, if we see the trend, these three parts, number system, percentage, ratio mixtures, 3/4 of the questions we can expect from here only. Then we can expect 1 or 2 questions here, 1 question from here, 1 or 2 question, 1 or 2 question, 1 question. And this part, permutation, combination, and probability. Like in last 2 years, they haven't asked any single question from this permutation and combination part and probability. So next year also we can expect no questions. But still, we need to have some basics. If they ask, we are going to skip it. Or if some very basic questions they have asked, we need to able to solve it. If it is taking less time, 30 seconds, 40 seconds. Otherwise, we are going to skip it. But before 2 years, what happened? Every year, not every year, like if we take the 19, 20, 21, 22, 23. 23 May, 7 to 8 questions they have asked from this part, permutation and combination. But the probability say they're not asking any question. Last 2-3 years, not a single question. And before that, every alternate year, 1 question from probability. But in probability question, the probability of getting it correct, it is slightly on lower side. So we need to skip it. So this way, we can see, and miscellaneous part, earlier, UPSC was asking questions from this, data interpretation. Like pie diagram is there, bar diagram is there, histogram is there, line diagram is there, and they are asking questions. They were asking questions on it. But now, what they have done, they have switched to data sufficiency part. Data is sufficient or not. So last 3-4 years, they have started asking questions on data sufficiency. What do you mean by data sufficiency? So this way they can ask questions. In statement 1, they have given some P is equal to A plus B. Second statement, Q is equal to A minus B. The question they have asked, Q is greater than P. So can we get the answer of this question with the help of these two data set? So this way, they are asking the provided data is sufficient or not to get the answer of this question. Yes, no. So this way they can ask option A, statement 1 only is sufficient to answer the question. Statement 2 alone is sufficient to answer the question. Both the statements combined can provide the answer of the question. Neither of the statement can provide the statement. Now what happened in 3-4 years, this way they were asking question, UPSC. But this year what happened, what they did, they add another option. Another option, it was like, the answer of this question can be get without even using these two statements. This was a new change by UPSC. How UPSC is changing the options. जैसे इसमें भी नया trend they have like given in the question paper. Like, without the help of these two statements, we can get the answer of this question. And this year, most of the questions के answer were this only. अब हमें तो आदत ही नहीं थी. And we were seeing this way, statement 1, then statement 2, then combining together, then we are looking for, we are getting answer or not. But one new option is given. So this way, few changes we can see in the paper next year also. So that, for that we need to be equipped with. So this is data sufficiency. And from data sufficiency, roughly 7 to 8 questions they are asking. Roughly 7 to 8 questions every year. And this is not another topic. They are asking questions from these topics only. But data is provided this way, the question is set this way. This is another part. Data is sufficient or not. The concepts will be like of percentage, of number system, of averages, of ratios. But the type is data sufficiency. Data is sufficient or not. This way they're asking questions. And these questions, they take a lot of time. Not all the questions, like 8 questions are there, 3 or 4 are doable. So out of these data sufficiency questions, 50% questions, they're difficult. And we need to skip it. So that also we need to understand. So if we want to skip it, we need to understand how the questions are framed, what are the underlying concept. Then only we will be able to skip the questions which are going to kill our time. Attempt those number of questions. For those, we can get answer within 1 minute or 2 minutes. Done. So this is the trend we can see with respect to the topics in maths part. And the most important part is number system. Like last 3-4 years, say what is happening, UPSC is asking more number of questions from number system. So UPSC is having this, like what we can say, this trend. Like last 2-3 years, may what happened? If we see the GS paper, modern Indian history, that modern Indian history questions were neglected in last 2-3 years. But this year, because of modern Indian history only, the paper was, it seems like it is doable. So this way, the proportion, the number of questions, they can change every year. So next year, it can happen that they are going to ask lesser number of questions from number system. This can happen. But we cannot skip it. If they are going to reduce the number of questions from number system, then also at least 10 questions they are going to ask. Not less than that. So for that, we need to understand. So if we see, like if we want to prepare on our own, or if we want to take classes, if we want to take like guidance from like online YouTube videos. So for that, if you are trying to do this, you need to devote more time. And this is the right time to start with. It cannot happen like in the January you are going to start it and you started preparing for CSAT on your own. This cannot happen. But this is the time when you can start. Correct. So if I take this number system, only one topic I am taking, what can be the subtopics of it? So if I take the number system, so we have so many subtopics. Like we are having number of zeros concept. We are having the concept of unit digit. We are having classification of numbers. We are having the concept of divisibility rule. We are having the concept of remainders. We are having the concept of LCMs, HCFs. We are having the concept of number of pages. Biggest number, largest number, smallest number. We have manipulation of digits. Two-digit numbers, three-digit numbers. And the concept of place value here. And then we have like listing of number. And we have miscellaneous part. So this way, different subtopics we can have in the number system itself. So we need to understand what is the concept, what are the basics of these subtopics, and how we can see the questions. And miscellaneous part, if they want to make new questions, the way UPSC is framing, they are going to club unit digit, divisibility rule, classification of numbers, number of zeros. This way they can club 2-3 subtopics and can make new questions. So for that we need to understand what are these subtopics, how we can understand this. Then only we can go for this miscellaneous part. Jahan se UPSC next year we can have more questions on this miscellaneous part. But for that we need to understand these subtopics. Correct? So in the classes, or if you want to study on your own, what you can do, start with the basic concepts. Then try to do basic questions. So first we are trying to understand what is ABCD. Then we'll try to make words. Then we'll try to see what kind of questions are being asked. So after basic questions, we can see what kind of PYQs are being asked. Then we'll try to see what can be the probable question. So this way we can understand each topic. First try to understand the concepts, basic concepts, the conventional approach, then the basic questions based on these basic concepts. So we'll get this idea, we can make words. Now we'll try to see, are we able to solve PYQs which are asked before 2017 and after 2017. There is a difference. Before 2017, these are like basic questions. And after 2017, it is difficult one. So difficulty level has gone increased after 2017 paper. If you see 18, 19, 20, 21, the difficulty level is increasing. So this way, in the classes, we are going to understand the things. If you want to understand, if you want to prepare on your own, so this approach, this strategy you can follow. The challenge here is the questions. We have PYQs, but with PYQs, how we can make probable questions. That we need to understand, which is going to help in the for the next year's exam. So for that, we need to have question set. In the test series also, if we see what happens, the questions are asked on geometry also, trigonometry also, mensuration. But these things are not asked by UPSC. So some basics we can understand, but if we see the previous year paper, we don't need to devote time for these part because UPSC is not asking. But it can happen next year that they are asking questions on this. So some basics we are going to understand. Some basics we are going to understand, not in the detail, because these topics are like so many subtopics are there, so many things we need to understand. So that is why we can go with the basics of it. And beyond that, UPSC will not ask also. They cannot ask. If they are going to ask 1 or 2 questions, which we can club with the number of questions, 25 to 35, we need to skip it. So there we can club these questions. ऐसा कर सकते हैं ऐसा. But the core area, we need to understand. We need to understand it very carefully. Okay, done. Any questions, any doubt, if you're coming with, you can ask. You can raise your hand and ask questions. कुछ आ रहा है दिमाग में? चाय पीने का समय? अभी तो 5 बजे होगा ना, 5 to 6. And if you see the paper, this 25 paper, this year also what happens? What happened ki they ask questions which were asked earlier also. Like this time, speed and distance questions. They were asked earlier also. In 21-22, the similar kind of question was asked. Like that question, one is moving in this direction, another one is moving in this direction. Opposite direction they are moving. So the concept of relative speed is there. So the relative speed will be what? If they are moving in opposite direction, the relative speed will get added. So in 21 or 22, they have asked this way, two persons, they are moving in same direction. Similar concept. So same direction mein what can be the relative speed? Opposite direction mein what can be the relative speed? And how many times they are going to meet each other? That way they asked. In the number system also, many questions like related to unit digits. They have asked earlier also. This year also they asked questions. Divisibility rule, classification of numbers, unit digit, number of zeros. So this way they asked similar type of questions. Related concepts. In time and work also, they asked question like a person is living. That way they didn't ask questions. They were asking questions on alternate days. But they asked very simple question from time and work. So if we see the question paper, most of the questions, not all the questions, but yes, we can say 70% questions from maths part, they were from the previous trend itself. But out of 70, because of the time constraint, we cannot get all the questions correct. Because if we know, then also it is going to take a lot of time. So for then we need to be smart. So we need to skip few questions. But that idea must come from the practice, from the understanding of the concept, then only we can get through. So this way, maths part we can deal with. All the things, all the topics we need to understand, the basics, the conventional approach. And one more thing, like shortcuts. What do you think about it? It is very difficult to apply shortcuts in UPSC paper. What happens, the way they are asking questions, like this year many questions they ask in number system. How many such numbers are there? How many pairs of these things? How many such possibilities are there? There, what shortcuts we can have? It is difficult. And also in these kind of questions, it is difficult. Like what happens, we say in maths part, we can know the question's answer is correct or not. We can get this idea. Like they are asking time, speed and distance ka question. We can get the answer or we cannot get the answer. But if they are asking how many possibilities are there, it can be 2 also, it can be 3 also, it can be 5 also. We cannot be sure. If we are getting answer, we cannot check. Like time, speed and distance, we know if distance is coming 100 meters and time and speed is given in the paper. So we can check it with the options, it is correct or not. So accuracy, that is why we can say ki in maths, we know ki how many questions we have done correct. But this time what happened? Last year also this happened. Last year also. When they're asking number of possibilities, we cannot be sure. We cannot be sure. So these kind of questions, number of possibilities, number of pairs, how many such numbers are there? These questions, if we see, we need to be smart. And we can think, should we go for it or should we skip it? So that also we need to understand. Because possibility is there, we are marking incorrect option. So that can happen in maths part. So what do you feel? Any topic, do you feel I have not written here which can be included while taking classes or while you are preparing? What do you think? Any topic you want to add? कुछ भी बता दो वैसे ही. Integration we need to add. Differentiation, differential equation. These things are part of higher mathematics. So that we cannot add. Integration they are not going to ask. Because class 10 level. So we need to remember in class 10, have we read about integration? No, so we don't need to read it. Integral, Trigonometry, yes, we read about it, trigonometry, but क्या पढ़ा था trigonometry में? Sin theta, cos theta, है ना? So for that, in most of the question, they need to provide the table also. Like this value is this value is that. So that is why they like trigonometry say what happens. Trigonometry ka application is there in like future also, like in 11th, 12th also, in higher mathematics also, the application of trigonometry is there. But what happens if we see the previous year papers, 1 or 2 questions they have asked. And this Pythagoras theorem comes into which part? Trigonometry or geometry? Pakka? So if you're not getting that idea, that means it will not come in the paper. Because few things we remember from class 10, class 9, 10. One question was asked from trigonometry that was this way. This tree is there, this much long, 100 meters. It fell from this point, which is like 60 meters from this base. It fell this way, and it is making this much angle. What is the base? Or what is the length of this root? So this way they asked one question this way. In 13, 14, when I was appearing, this question was there in the paper. Then after then, I don't remember any question which is from this trigonometry part. But geometry say, in the recent past, they have asked few questions. Geometry. So these are different things. But 1 or 2, not more than that. And that also in alternate years, not every year. That is why it is not coming into this trend analysis of the topics. So if we see the trend, the most important topic we get number system. And before this, like 17, most of the questions they were asking from this percentage. Then averages, set theory. Like 15, 16, they asked 6 questions from the set theory itself. So this way, more number of questions they were asking from different topics. But after then, yes. Set. So basic set theory, Venn diagram they are asking. I'm writing set theory, but it is basically that Venn diagram, that at least one condition. Intersection, A union B, and they're not going to ask number of articles this way, phi, that null set, these things they're not asking. Very basic thing. In permutation combination also, they are saying ki very basic question they are asking, but what happened in 23, very difficult question they asked. That is why student complained about it. They had a protest also about this. Very difficult questions are being asked. So UPSC said, see, these questions can be solved without even using any formula. And that was correct also, but it was taking a lot of time. But time is 2 hours. So we need to, so earlier, before 23, like before 24, permutation combination was the marker of the paper. If many questions are coming from permutation and combination, the paper was very difficult. But right now, in last 2 years, no questions from permutation and combination, still the paper was difficult. Why? Because the number system part, the new type of questions, although the concepts were same. And it was time taking. It was time taking. Like you are sitting for 3 hours, then you can solve many of the questions, but the time is limited. Yes, the time is limited. Right. So this way, this part is there for maths. Yes. Reasoning, LR. Like LR, if we see the topics, logical reasoning. So we have topics like cubes, calendars. We have clock. We have coding, decoding. Yes? Yes. Then we have arrangements, sitting arrangements. It can be like linear arrangement also. It can be circular arrangement also. We have the questions on dice. We have questions on Silox, that is part of reasoning, LR, logical reasoning. Then we have directions, blood relations, we have inequality also. What else? So basically, these are the important topics of LR. Anyone? All the boys are girls. All the girls are boys. कुछ दूसरा. Like all the girls are boys. All the boys are animals. All the animals are birds. So this way they can provide for conclusions. All the girls are birds. Is this correct or incorrect? That is why, that is what this. So these are the topics. So if we see the topics, yes. Okay. So if we see the topics of reasoning, logical reasoning, LR part, every year we can expect one questions. Like one question, and then one more thing, numbers or series. Numbers or series. So two questions we expect from the series part. And one question is doable, another question is not doable. So that also we need to identify, are we getting what can be the next term in that series? So for that we have different patterns. So we have different progressions also. We have different approaches to solve the questions of series. And this LR part is relatively easier as compared to maths part. Like this cubes and dice. For these two parts, we have same pattern. 3-4 patterns are there. On the basis of those patterns only, we are going to get questions. Then this calendar part also, only one concept is there. Odd days wala concept. That we need to understand. We can have this idea ki what can be the day. So 2-3 more concepts are there in this calendar, century wala concept. Then this clock. One question, not every year we are getting questions on clock, but yes, clock wale concept mein what they ask. Like the angle between or what time it will take. So this way they are asking question. For that also we need to understand, like 1 minute clock, this hand and hour hand, what time it is taking to complete one round. 60 minutes, 24 hours, 1 minute. That way they can ask. So for that we need to understand what time it is taking. Then this coding, decoding, the simplest form. Then this arrangement, it can be difficult sometimes. If the variables are more than 2. If the variables are more than 2. Variables in case, like if you see the questions, like 5 people are there, their names are this, their occupation is this, and they are working on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday this way. So we are having more than 2 variables. It is difficult to solve. It is going to take a lot of time. So if 2 variables are there, we can go for it. We'll try to see what can be the answer. It can be linear arrangement, it can be circular. Then dice, then silox, that is what we understood. Directions questions. This is also very simple. So this direction part, cube, calendar, dice, coding, decoding, this blood relation part, that also just we need to make that diagram, how we are moving in which direction. So what can be the blood relation? Then inequality and series questions. So these are different topics, and we do not have many subtopics in these topics in LR part. So that is why it is relatively easier as compared to maths part. So 7 to 8 questions we can solve from this LR part. Kitna bhi difficult paper bana dein, we can solve 7 to 8 questions. Because many questions, they are coming on the set pattern in last 7-8 years. Then, yes, Inequality like this is what? P greater than equal to Q. Q is less than equal to R. What is the relation between P and R? Inequality is this only. This P is equal to Q. Equality is there. P is greater than Q. Inequality. They're not equal. P is having more money as compared to Q. Inequality is there in the society. That is inequalities. So different inequalities they can provide, and finally they can ask key is like 3-4 variables are there, they can ask to compare 2 variables, P and R. So numerous questions we can have on this pattern. Then we have this RC part. So for RC part, we don't have like any subtopic or topic. They are the passages we get. We need to understand the passage, and passages, they are coming from different subjects. We have subjects like on climate, passages there. On governance, a passage is there. On any scheme, government scheme, a passage is there. Any philosophy related passage is there. Then they are asking questions. Questions may some tail words are there. Like they are asking, what can be the conclusion? What were the assumptions made in the passage? What is the best explanation of the passage? What is the crux of the passage? What is like assumptions we have written? So this way, they are asking different tail words. Different tail words. What is the best message conveyed by the author? So this way, different tail words they are asking in the passages. So whenever we are reading any passage, like every day we are reading anything, something, newspaper we are reading, editorials we are reading, any book we are reading. So basically we are trying to comprehend those articles. We are trying to comprehend those articles. So what kind of things we do when we are reading the passages? So first thing we try to read, what is the tone of the passage? It is positive or it is negative? That tone we can get. Then we can get this idea on what topic they have written. It is about climate change. It is about pollution. It is about governance. It is about scheme. Whatever it is, we can get that idea for what they are writing things. Then we can get this idea, what is the argument they are providing. So something they are saying, it must go in this direction, it must go in that direction. It is good, it is bad. After then they are writing the arguments to substantiate that comment made by the author in the passage. So we'll try to see what is the main argument for that and what is the supportive argument for that. So this way we are going to simplify the passage. So for that we need to understand the crux of the passage first. So if it is aligning with the crux of the passage, with the explanation of the passage, that means it is correct. If it is not in the extent of the passage, we can say it is this, we cannot say. We cannot confident about this statement. So we'll mark it incorrect. Then we'll try to see it cannot be the explanation for anything. Like you are talking about GS question, वो paper 1, 2, 3 वाला बोल रहे हो क्या? Yeah, इसमें भी आता है, but not that way. So first we are going to understand this way the passages. पहले तो passage समझेंगे ना कि what is there in the passage. So we are going to this way make different compartments. After then we'll try to see what is the crux of the passage, what is the explanation of the passage. It is going in positive and negative end. So with this we can have some idea about the assumptions. With this crux we can have some idea about the conclusion. And these things can provide if some statement is given, some other information is given, then we'll try to relate with this, correlate with this arguments given in the passage. पहले तो passage पढ़ेंगे तो what idea we are getting in our mind, that needs to be structured. So this way we are going to structure it. Then we'll get some idea from where it is starting, from where it is ending. And different passages are having different things. Like if one line passage is there, like this year one line passage was there. So simply, what is the explanation of this? If they're asking what is the assumption of this passage or what can be the conclusion, they cannot ask this way the questions. Simply they can ask questions about what can be the crux, what can be the explanation. If one line is there, that means it is the crux. If we are writing 10 lines, then they can ask about what can be the crux of this passage. पूछ सकते हैं ना, ऐसे ही बनाएंगे questions. So this way, and one more thing is very important for the, whenever we have structured it, we got few pointers, what can be the assumption, or this way we have read the passage, we understood the passage, what is there in the passage. Then we'll try to see what is the question asked. And we need to stick to the information given in the passage. Yeah. So we'll try to pick the options. And mostly we see this option is also correct, this option is also correct. All the options are correct. So this way it seems that all the questions are correct. So we'll try to see what is the most correct. And many times what happens, gut feeling is this is the most correct option, so we mark it. So we need to align our gut feeling with UPSC PYQ's answers. Like every year if we see coaching's answer keys, there is a variation. Like this year also, there is a lot of variation in answer keys through different coachings. So if we see the previous year, answer keys are provided by UPSC. Now we need to check, like if we want to prepare for this RC part. The simple idea is what? No one can make you understand this. You need to understand this RC part. One can make you understand these things, how to read the passage, how to extract the information given in the passage, like the way you are making notes. From editorials, 1000 words are there. Out of 1000 words, what is the crux of the editorial? How you can write in just 30 words. That is basically the comprehension ability. That is the comprehension ability. So that you need to develop through reading editorials, through reading newspapers, through reading different articles. So that thing you can master by reading more and more and making crisp notes. Everyone is reading newspaper, making notes also, or relying on current affairs magazines only. So there you need to work. Like if you're reading any editorial, try to make a crisp note. Just write 20-30 words में what is the main information this editorial is going to provide. What is it? Options में most correct option. If all the options seem it is correct, so most correct option. Then sometimes we can feel this, all the options are so least incorrect option that we need to choose. And how we can get this idea, which one is least, which one is most? So that alignment we can get from this UPSC PYQs. Like try to see previous year's passages and see what answer you are making. Then try to see what answer UPSC has given. This way try to go for 2, 3, 4 years RC questions. Then try to align yourself the way UPSC is marking answers to those questions. That is the best approach you can have. It is going to take a lot of time, but it is the approach everyone can follow. Because that is what we are like aiming for? To have greater accuracy, the way UPSC is thinking, that is what we can do. And like in RC classes, what can happen? Different passages would be there and discussions can be there. So RC classes, what can happen? Previous year questions. Different type of passage, philosophical passages, how we can understand. So for that, we need to have good reading so that we can read and we can understand. Climate change topics, polity topics, governance topics, scheme topics, these topics are easier to understand. But philosophical topics, these are a little difficult. And every time we need to stick to the information given in the passage only. So that can come with practice. It's not like I know, I read newspaper every day, so I have very good reading skills. I can read the things, I can understand the things. But you need to align with the UPSC previous year's answer key and also these tailwords. What is the meaning of these tailwords? Meaning ही नहीं पता है. We understood the passage, what is given there in the passage, but what is the meaning of this passage? We are confused with assumption and conclusion. Many times it happens. This is the assumption or this is the conclusion. Many times we get confused. And in the question it is written about conclusion. And we are thinking about assumption. And we marked by thinking it is the assumption. So that way we can have incorrect answers. Although we are having very good comprehension skills. Just we need to go through these things. What is the meaning of it? And that can come with the help of solving PYQs. Correct? So this way, like RC, maths part and LR part, we can tackle. And for that, I think the way UPSC is asking questions, we need to start early. Start early. I'm not saying every day you need to read. Every week. A day in a week, you can go for it, CSAT, pick any topic and try to see what are the basic concepts related to it and what can be the PYQs for it. You can get that idea. So slowly you can get to this thing that I have read a lot of things in CSAT. And go for this conventional approach. Basic fundamentals that we need to understand. And initially don't go for shortcuts. If you have understood this, after then go for shortcuts. Then practice PYQs first. Why? For the assessment. Like you want to start for CSAT, try to appear for this year's paper itself. In 2 hours time, try to attempt 20-25 paper and see how many questions you are able to attempt and in which part you are very comfortable, in which part you feel it is very difficult for me. So this way, try to assess yourself. You need classes or you are okay with it, so that assessment can provide you. And in CSAT preparation also, we need to be very honest. And basically, engineering students, they need to be very honest. हो जाएगा, नहीं चलेगा. What happens? कि we know कि our quantitative aptitude is very good, but time is limited. But time is limited, and also they are asking questions which are very practical. So, for engineering graduates, they also need to see the syllabus, PYQs, and see in which part you are not that comfortable. Like placements में सब लोग बैठे होंगे, उसमें भी ऐसे ही questions आते हैं, लगता है कि वो तो हो ही जाएगा. But the way they are asking questions, UPSC, it is slightly difficult. So engineering graduates, they can solve all these questions. Out of 80, all the 80 questions. Given that, 5 hours. So more time is required. And for humanities student, they also need to start early. So for engineering students, what can happen? They can devote lesser time, but time must be devoted. For humanities student, they also need to devote time, but slightly more time. Just the game of confidence. How you can gain that confidence? Just by understanding the things earlier. Like it cannot be like in January you are starting, and in January what you have planned, like every day 5 hours I am going to devote for CSAT. It cannot happen that time, because till that time you have to cover a lot from GS also. Then every month PT 365, then updated PT 365. So every week you will get new things to read for GS. So that time you will not get much time to prepare for CSAT. So if you want, start early, it can be slow also. That is also fine. But start early, that is the thing. Then, so this is all about this CSAT. If you're having any question, you can ask. कुछ question आ रहा है? नहीं? तो main, what is the important thing? पढ़ना. स्टार्ट करना इम्पॉर्टेंट है. ऐसा नहीं है कि वी कैन थिंक ऑफ लाइक कि वी कैन स्टार्ट नेक्स्ट मंथ एंड एवरीथिंग इज अवेलेबल ऑन यूट्यूब. मोस्ट ऑफ द थिंग्स. This is the time where we are having a lot of resources. In our time, we didn't have any resource. That time, lack of resources, here, lot of resources. Both are the problems. So if lot of resources, and approach also we know, syllabus also we know, the kind of questions are being asked, that also we know. So we are sometimes in delusion. कि सब तो पता है हमें. Everything we know. But what is lacking? Practice. We need to read, we need to study. And attention span is also very less nowadays. That is why the advent of shorts, YouTube shorts. So everyone is trying to watch shorts, not the videos. For shorts, like we are devoting half an hour, 1 hour. But we don't want a video which is 35 minutes, 15 minutes. इतना कौन देखेगा? But बैठे बैठे बालकनी में चल रहे हैं shorts. So that is what we need to understand. थोड़ा सा stretch करना है अपने आप को, because this time, yes, it is the problem with everyone, not just you. So you have to clear the biggest exam of the land. So you need to work little harder. थोड़ा सा मेहनत, थोड़ा सा नहीं, ज़्यादा मेहनत करनी पड़ेगी. ठीक है? तो बी प्रिपेयर्ड फॉर दैट. ठीक है? ऑल द बेस्ट. थैंक यू. एनी बुक? You can get previous year's questions compilation. Just that. Don't go for books. And for basic questions, I don't see any book where they have given these basic questions. Like number system, the questions are not there in the market. But this year, I can see like few publications will come and they will provide questions. If this happens, then UPSC will ask fewer questions. So that is how UPSC reads. Thank you.